Hi, this is Anthony D'Alessandro from Deadline Hollywood, and welcome to our TIFF studio. We are here today with the director, producer, and co-writer of Paramount's Better Man, Mr. Michael Gracey. Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
So, Robbie Williams, he helped you out on Greatest Showman.
He did, yeah. There was a moment where Hugh was questioning whether the music was strong enough. Being a musical, obviously you sort of live and die on the music. And it was a video that Rob made after I took him through the narrative and then played him the songs for The Greatest Showman. I actually said to Rob, look, the only thing more bizarre than me showing up at your house on a weekend is what I'm about to ask you now. And I pulled out my phone and I said, Jim, it's one thing for me to tell Hugh what you think of the music. It's another thing for you to tell him yourself. So do you mind if I just video you and you just talk into camera as if you're talking to Hugh? And that video that he made is literally what convinced Hugh to move forward and do The Greatest Showman.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something else. Now, one of the reasons why you did this movie is you said that he's a guy that's got some amazing stories. That said, what are some of the ones that hooked you?
I mean, there's some stories that aren't in this film that there were some of the original ones that he told me. But when he would tell the stories, in the same way when you meet someone for the first time, like we would catch up socially and he would ask me about my life and I'd ask him about his life. And just in the art of storytelling, the way he would tell the story, it was just incredibly engaging. They were very original, you know, very heartfelt narratives, but I also loved the way in which he delivered it. And not with even a film in mind. I just said, look, while you still remember these stories, let's capture them. You know, you've got a sound studio at your house. I'll come over when I'm in LA and we'll just sit and chat like you and I are now. And we'll just record it. We'll just hit record, you know, and maybe it's just for you to listen to in a nursing home one day, but we should get it. And that's what we did. For about a year and a half, every time I visited LA, we would just get together and chat. And those recordings formed the basis, you know, of the film, to the point where those original recordings are in the film as voiceover.
Oh, very cool.
And
very cool.
What's great about that is, you know, it's about 80% of them are the original recordings. And the delivery is very conversational. It's not presentational. And I think it makes you feel like you're just sitting in a room with Rob, as opposed to someone going, let me tell you my story. It's very much like two people just chatting. And there's a real magic to that. You know, we even tried to re-record some of them and we couldn't get them as good as the original recordings.
Tell us your whole drive to make this a musical biopic that is different from all other musical biopics. And I'm going to have you tell everyone how that is.
You know, once I had the recordings, I would sort of chop them up and listen to it like a radio play and just close my eyes and think, you know, could this make a great film, like a narrative film? And I'd been fortunate in that I'd worked on Rocket Man for a number of years with Lee Hall on that script. And so I wanted to just come at it from a different perspective, meaning, you know, there's already Bohemian Rhapsody, Elvis, Rocket Man, and I just thought there's got to be a different way to lens this particular story. So in looking for a way into it, I actually went back to the recordings and I was listening to those recordings, and time again, I could hear Rob say, you know, I'm just up the back performing like a monkey, or I was off my head, but they would just drag me on stage to perform like a monkey. And he said it enough times that I was like, there's really something to this. You know, he really sees himself as this performing monkey. And not just on stage.
This opposed to cow or giraffe.
Well, that's
or
the thing,
octopus.
right?
Yeah.
But also, you know, there is a sort of performance nature to his entire life. You know, whether it's the kids that he was around when he was growing up, whether it was in front of his dad, who, you know, is a sort of entertainer himself, and so he wants to impress his dad. There's sort of this constant desire to perform. And I guess that's in everyone. Like, that's all of us. We all put on a performance to some degree. I just thought it was a fascinating way in, if he's telling the story, if we presented Rob as the way he sees himself. So I obviously asked Rob, if he was to be an animal, what animal would he be? To which he answered with a big grin, definitely a lion. And I thought to myself, and I just said, really? And that's all I needed to say. I just said, really? And then he gave it a beat and he went, actually, I'm more of a monkey. And with that, I sort of pitched him the idea that that's how we should present him in the film.
Was there a back and forth in regards to which songs would get in the movie and which of his songs would be cut?
I mean, I think the credit goes to Rob in that he very much just gave us free rein to put whatever songs worked narratively. And that was amazing because we weren't doing it based on anything other than, at this point in this story, what can we retrofit in terms of the lyrics into this moment? And sometimes we had to turn songs like She's the One into a duet or whatever we needed to do. He was completely open to that reinterpretation. Because, with this film, you've got people who have a long history of listening to Rob's music, and you're hoping to give them a new context narratively to these songs. And if done well, it does mean that when they listen to Angels or when they listen to She's the One or when they listen to whatever song of Rob's, Rock DJ, they will think back to this moment in the film. That would be the greatest outcome. The other audience is in America who don't know Rob's music, in which case they're actually watching the film like it's an original musical, like The Greatest Showman. And so they're hearing the songs for the first time and seeing these visuals. So it will always be associated with that moment within the narrative. And to me, that's unbelievably exciting. Both are exciting. One is receiving it like it's an original musical, and one you're giving a new context to songs already known. So yeah, we were very fortunate in that Rob was completely open to whatever songs we wanted to use.
Did he write any songs for the film?
He wrote a song for the credits because I always thought what would be amazing is if you...
The name of it?
Forbidden Road.
Okay.
And Forbidden Road is a reflective song from the point of view of he's just watched the entire film. He's watched his life story. And in reflection, how does he feel? And that's kind of an amazing point to get to, where you get to watch your life, which is not an easy thing for anyone to do. And then in hindsight, look back over that life and kind of comment on it. So yeah, I always love the idea that as you sit there in the dark at the end of the film, you're sort of hearing the voice of the person who's just watched the film about himself.
Everybody wants Greatest Showman 2. What's going on with Greatest Showman 2? And are you involved in the new musical?
I'm not involved in the stage musical. And Greatest Showman 2, that's up to Disney, Obviously, we made the film when it was at Fox, and now that's all that as a property is owned by Disney. I think the actors have all commented about what it would be like to make Showman 2. I think we were very fortunate that when we made Showman, it was just one of those magical moments where we all came together, and as a cast, they were so incredibly supportive. Peter Cohen, who was the first AD on The Greatest Showman, pointed out to me one day that our cast members would come in on their days off just to sit behind camera and clap and applaud and cheer on the other performers when they were doing their musical numbers. And Peter Cohen said to me, this doesn't happen on every film. And as it was my first film, I wasn't aware of that. I just thought this is but when you look back in hindsight, you go, yeah, it was a really special moment, and it was an incredible group of people who came together to make that film, both in front of the camera and behind the camera. And I think that comes across in the end result. It feels like a passion piece.
Looking back, does the success of it still surprise you? I remember reporting on the box office of it, and at the time, way before at CinemaCon, it was like clear, oh, this is going to be big for them. And then opening up over Christmas, it was kind of like, and then it just changed. Yeah. It changed overnight.
Yeah, it was a word-of-mouth film, and I was always very confident about that. And Hugh tells the story where he called me and he was saying, yeah, I'm really sorry, mate, like after the first weekend, because we only made $8 million. and the film cost a lot more than that. And I said to him, no, wait, because it's going to be word of mouth. People are going to talk about it. And I only felt that because there was a real sense of, when you watched it with an audience, that they wanted to go back in and watch it again. There was a real desire to go back in and have that feeling again, to hear that music again, to experience that story again. And they were the sort of musicals that I used to love. You know, growing up, Mary Poppins, Singing in the Rain, Sound of Music, you just want to watch them over and over again. And so, you know, we set out to try and make a modern day classic in terms of the original musical genre. And at the time, no one wanted an original musical. And we were really fortunate that La La Land came out just before us. And I think everyone sort of relaxed a little bit and went, oh, hang on, this original musical thing might actually work. So I'm very grateful for Damien, because it took a lot of heat off me during the editorial process.
Thank you, Michael Gracey, director, producer, and co-writer of Paramount's Better Man, making its Canadian premiere.
That's right.
Here at the Toronto International Film Festival. Thank you.